What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Late Round Fantasy Football Show. This is episode 10 of the Late Round Fantasy Football Show, and we have football starting today. I'm so excited. We also have the news and rumors channel that's been going off on our Patreon. Lots of stuff to talk about, and we're going to talk about rounds 1 through 5 targets for JJ. Who does he think that that are some of the favorites for him in targeting these first 5 rounds? One guy I've got some questions about. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about all the news and more. And it's an interactive show where we get down and nerdy. So join in. It's a Late Round Fantasy Football Show sponsored by DraftKings. All right, welcome in, David Kitchen. JJ's number 1. JJ's right-hand man. You're right-handed, right, JJ?
I'm actually left-handed.
Gosh,
I'm left-handed with writing and eating, and I'm right-handed with playing sports.
Yeah.
Tooting? Did you say?
I said shooting.
Shooting? Oh, like as a basketball? I thought you were going back to the Brian Robinson discussion. I don't want to dig that back up.
No, I thought you were going to the. There were some Tootens, like GIFs and videos and everything else in the news and rumors channel today because Bashal was in pads. We'll talk about news in a second. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, DraftKings. They've got the draft one, get one stuff going on. You can find the link in the description of the show. And I would just say it's a good time to enter best ball contest.
Yeah.
It's a really good time because you just have way more information than what you did.
Yeah.
And you can dial in. We have a best ball chat in the Patreon if you would like to join that. And, you can just post your fire teams there or you can ask questions, whatever. We also have the late round draft guide. And the late round draft guide continues to produce email updates. Well, updates in the guide every Friday morning. You'll get an email to download it. Have you done tomorrow's update yet, JJ?
No, I'm a little behind right now, folks. I did update the rankings. So usually my process is I update rankings and then I compare those rankings to ADP and then I see where there's discrepancies. And then I say to myself, maybe I should write up this player that I seem to be high on, or maybe I should make an update to certain players. There's a couple guys that I've been on the fringe about making updates about, and some guys that I've been on the fringe of just writing about. So maybe they'll make the cut this week.
Yeah, and also, Jed, you want to tell people why maybe you were why you didn't do the updates this morning?
Oh, this morning, I got to finally meet in real life, IRL. And we didn't get a picture, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we didn't get a picture. We forgot.
Such dudes.
Yeah,
such dudes.
I got to meet Rich Ryan in real life, everybody. Becoming a Best Ball Bro co-host. He's done so much work for us on YouTube and with video and with audio and helping me out understanding audio. I've been getting to know Rich for the last couple of years, and he was in town, and it allowed us to meet up and get some brunch. Had a good stroll around my town. It was a good time, and he's a great dude. And I was really excited to finally meet him IRL.
Awesome. He just seems like just a great dude.
He's a great guy. Yeah. Rich is a great guy.
Some people are saying you just surround yourself with just great guys. Like you just surround yourself with great people around you, and that's just what some people. Some people are saying. We got Aaron, who's in the chat, saying hello. What's up, Best Ball Bro? I'm guessing this is what BB Bros mean. I'm probably a Best Ball Bro. JJ's becoming one, but this show is not just Best Ball. This show is also redraft.
More redraft than it is Best Ball.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's the primary focus, and we have a lot to digest. So let's get into the news. Shall we, JJ?
Sure.
You going to say that?
Oh, yeah. It's the news.
That's not what you did last week.
I know. I'm going to do a different one every week.
Oh, okay. It actually sounded like I introduced the girls last night to Nacho Libre. It kind of sounded a little bit like Nacho. All right. I'm starting this one off because I know it's near and dear to our heart.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy burden? Question mark.
Yeah. There's my reaction to anything Luther Burden is hype.
Yeah.
I'm
Every day it's something different. Today he looked good though.
Yeah, there were some reports about how I saw one person saying that Chicago found its slot. Like they got their guy.
Oh.
Luther Burden is a relatively raw prospect in that we don't know fully like what we're gonna get out of him given what he did in college. A lot of manufactured stuff, a lot of weird like slot work in college. We talked about that throughout the draft process. But his production was otherworldly his sophomore season. And peaks are usually a bigger deal analytically for college prospects than valleys are. And if you look at what he did that sophomore year, it's really hard for me to say that he's a bad prospect. The Zap model loved him. I think that there's some stuff that people are concerned about between the ears and maybe his like motivation side of things. And, whether he's going to be someone that takes the game serious enough, that kind of deal. That's just rumors. That's not from me. I don't know the dude. But I do think that this coaching staff might be perfect for him, where Ben Johnson already day one, when Burden came back to practice, supposedly screamed at him for screwing up. And now next day he's looking a lot better.
Yeah, threw him out of practice. This is kind of what you want though. You want
for a player like that where like if there is all of that extra stuff, like again, I don't know for sure. It's not like I know Luther Burden, but if there is all that extra stuff, you want a coach who's going to be more, it's going to be hard on him, sometimes that resonates with players, sometimes it doesn't, but oftentimes with those types of players, they need a reality check. And so I think Burden has the skills and the tools to be a very good wide receiver in the NFL. And we've seen this Ben Johnson offense. If he carries it over from Detroit, we've seen the Ben Johnson offense really favor the slot and even tight ends, right? Now you could say personnel dictated that and drove that. And I think that's probably true to a degree. But there's already been a lot of discussion about the slot being important in the offense. So I think there's a reason they drafted Luther Burden. I think he's really good. And he's worth a late round target in your redraft league.
And honestly, it's not just Luther Burden. It's this Caleb Williams is looking good too. We're getting some glowing reports out of camp about Caleb looking good.
My thing with Chicago, and I mentioned this on the Tuesday episode with the early season schedule analysis, I do think that their schedule looks good on paper, but I worry a little bit about the pass rushes they're going to see and how inconsistent they might be to start the season with this new offense. But and I talked to Matt Waldman a little bit about this over the offseason, whether it was on my show or on his show, but I think it's really important to remember that Caleb Williams didn't have easy outs last year, right? And I'm not making all the excuses in the world for Caleb because when you have as bad of an analytical and numbers driven statistical season as Caleb had last year, that doesn't just happen with like good quarterbacks very often. But with that being said, what do they need more of? They need more of those like easy outs for Caleb to not take sacks, to get the ball out, and to not make these stupid errors. And one player to do that is a player that would be closer to the line of scrimmage, can generate a lot of yak, and can do a lot after he catches the ball, which is exactly what Luther Burden is, which is why I think he fits really well with what they need.
All right, let's move on. This is DK times DK times DK. DK to the third power. DK3 is what people are calling it. This show is sponsored by DraftKings. My name is David Kitchen. And I'm falling for a guy on DraftKings whose name is DK.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground, DK Metcalf. Yeah. There was one tweet yesterday from beat writers said, DK Metcalf easily has over 100 catches. There are multiple.
That was Mark Cabali. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the Pittsburgh beat well because
this is why I wanted to know boots on the ground. I did look to see if you followed him on X, and I didn't see that you did. But
I probably don't because I think he's crazy. But look, Cabali might be one to exaggerate a little bit.
Yeah. But there's still lots of highlights out there about Aaron Rodgers and Metcalf. You got the
look,
narrative, everything else.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, what are you
Yeah.
going to do? Throw the ball to DK Metcalf or Calvin Austin? Like, what are people really expecting here? This is the reason why, like, I've actually been like one spot, maybe two spots at times ahead in ADP, like wide receiver ADP on DK Metcalf, because I think there's a legitimate chance he sees like a 28% target share in this offense. And I also think there's a chance that Pittsburgh throws the ball more than the market just generally is assuming. That we're like, oh, it's an Arthur Smith offense. Guys, I understand that Arthur Smith is a more conservative, run-heavy coach. That's the philosophy he rolls with. But you have to layer on personnel here too. When he was in Tennessee, he had Ryan Tannehill, who was efficient and good when he was in Tennessee, but he had Derrick Henry. Of course, they're going to be run heavy, right?
Yeah.
He goes to Atlanta. The first year in Atlanta, they were actually kind of pass heavy. They were like 7th in the league in pass rate with Matt Ryan. And then you get old Matt Ryan or whoever was after, Desmond Ridder, etc. And what do you expect to happen when you then draft Bijan Robinson and you go down that route? Of course, you're going to run the ball more, right? Now you get to the Pittsburgh, Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh last year with Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and whomever. Of course, they're going to be probably a little bit more run heavy. So I think there's a chance that we see more passing volume in this offense than what's being projected. Even if there's not, though, a really high target share can combat that, which is why I think DK Metcalf is maybe not a target per se, but he's fine with where he's being drafted.
He's a target for me. I'm just saying he's a target for me. I'm falling for the hype here. Especially like in non-PPR league. I feel like, or like half point PPR leagues, but in like full point PPR leagues, if he's going to catch 100 passes, JJ, just pencil me in for just
look,
big share of him.
Metcalf. If you guys look at like public drafts that I've done, I've taken Metcalf. And you can look at streams that I've done. Like Metcalf to me belongs where he's being drafted. So I'm taking him too. Did you see Ron Stewart's in here? He said Mark Cabali is an idiot, but a lovable idiot. I
saw that.
It's pretty appropriate description.
Shout out to Ron, who was a guest on Soulcast. Had no clue what he was getting himself into this past week.
Yeah.
As far as Arthur Smith goes, Titans fans honestly love Arthur Smith. He had one of the top offenses.
They were great.
While he was here. He kind of ruined his reputation in the fantasy industry, especially when he went to Atlanta and did some just boneheaded moves.
The thing in Atlanta that he did, there's only one thing actually in hindsight, I think, that he did. It wasn't the Kyle Pitts stuff, because he clearly wasn't that wrong about Kyle Pitts.
Right.
I think that the big error was the Bijan Robinson rookie season, where
Bijan.
Yeah. What he is? It's not Bijan. It's not Bijan. It's
Bijan.
Bijan. Like Dijon. Yeah. Bijan Robinson. I'm never saying that. Bijan, and I'm strict with how I say names.
Okay, well, as long as you're okay with Zachariason.
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like he used Tyler Algier a whole lot that year, but Algier was still pretty efficient and effective on the ground. So, was it smart? No. Was it tilting? Yes. But I think that Arthur Smith, I don't want to be an Arthur Smith apologist, so I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah. Why does Kitchen struggle so much with it? I don't know. I'm going to start. Someone mentioned it on a show or stream this week, but I'm going to start doing it like, the Key and Peele sketch. I said, "Big."
Yeah.
You said that though? You said that? That's if you say big, so Bijan.
It's like Dijon mustard. Dijon.
Yeah, I would like to change my name instead of David Kitchen to David Kitchen. Just
I don't know. Are we just trying to be French here? Is that
while we're on it? Let's do it. All right. Likely and Andrews operate here. I know we've talked about Mark Andrews in best ball going a little bit higher than what we like to see, but this likely news that he had surgery, going to be out for 6 weeks. People in the Discord chat saying that's just optimistic for even 6 weeks. Like knowing the start of the season and not wanting to flare, it's probably going to be a little bit more time than this. So your reaction is Andrews up, likely down.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward to me. I mean, I wasn't really drafting that much Isaiah Likely. Maybe that was a mistake. I'm not.
Well, now you get tons of them, so
yeah,
it worked
that's
out.
certainly not a victory lap at all. But I just had a hard time. I have a hard time drafting a tight end 2, as high as he was just generally going when we know how offenses generally operate. And so, maybe this was the year that leap started to happen. But Andrews wasn't like horrific last year, even though he got off to such a poor start. I think this is great for Andrews because one of the things that we're questioning with Andrews is what his route participation is going to look like. And if Isaiah Likely's out, his route participation is going to rise. He's going to be a more consistent every passing down kind of player. So to me, I think you got to bump him up. Like if you had him below Kelsey, if you had him below like Evan Ingram, like I think you got to draft him over those guys at this point.
Yeah, I did have him below Ingram. Kelsey has not really been a target. And if you've purchased the draft guide or watch a lot of stuff, you know why. But Likely, maybe you shouldn't look at him as a tight end 2, but more like a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. But now he might not be that. What was the thing you were talking about last night, though, with Perspectives guest Jacob Sanderson? Yeah, I was just getting alerts. I didn't have time to really get into it. I feel like
you want me to rant about this right now?
No, I just give me the TLDR.
The TLDR is I don't think.
Can you give a TLDR? Is the question.
I think that people do themselves a disservice when they start to compare tight end production to wide receiver production because that's not how the game of fantasy football is played.
Yeah.
How often do you see, Brock Bowers is just like another wide receiver. Trey McBride is just like another wide receiver. That doesn't matter in fantasy football generally.
Positional scarcity.
It does to a degree because of the flex spot. So there is something to that. But generally, like it's easier to think about this in a managed season long league. Okay. In best ball, it's a little bit different because a tight end, 2 tight ends could hit your lineup without you having to predict it. In a managed season long league, if you draft Brock Bowers, he is always going to be in your tight end spot week in and week out when he's healthy. He's never not going to be in your tight end spot. The only way that you have another tight end in your flex is if you luck into somebody who's getting decent production, but chances are you're not going to have a tight end in your flex, right? So you're starting 1 tight end, you're starting 3 wide receivers in a lot of leagues, right? Yeah. If not more wide receivers. And so the supply and demand equation says we don't need tight end nearly as much as we need wide receivers. Why do you guys think usable tight ends get drafted in the double-digit rounds every single year? It's because only 7 of them, 8 of them are drafted in the first 10 rounds of your draft because we don't need them as much, right? And so you can't ignore the cost component of when that baseline tight end is being drafted because that's important to the overall equation here. So if a player like Brock Bowers is giving you X number of points more than a baseline player, and a player like Amon-Ra St. Brown is giving you X number of players better than a baseline player, that baseline player at wide receiver gets drafted a lot earlier than the baseline player at tight end does, which means there's actually a higher opportunity cost when you take the tight end versus taking the wide receiver. There is value in a wide receiver playing a wide receiver position in fantasy football because you start so many of them. It's that simple. So what we need to worry about is this just goes back to basic VORP and basic value-based drafting that Joe Bryant wrote about 25 years ago. We care more about what's going on within the position as opposed to across the position, right? Or cross positions. And so, you could sit here and say, let me just give you a hypothetical to really wrap your head around this. And this is what I said to Jacob yesterday. And he wasn't really saying to the contrary in his message. I was just making sure that I was understanding what he was saying. But you could sit here and say Brock Bowers is going to produce just like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, what if there were 10 other Brock Bowers? What if there were 11 tight ends that were going to produce just like Brock Bowers? Where would you draft Brock Bowers? Would you draft him in the exact same spot where you're drafting him right now? No, of course not. Because there are 11 of them. Everyone, except for one team in a 12-team league, in a 10-team league, everyone can just get Brock Bowers. Why would you spend up to get that player? So again, it's fine to use it as a discussion point and a talking point, but it's really, really important to still focus on how these players are performing against the rest of their position. And I'm not saying that you do only VORP analysis and only do it via projection because there's a lot of nuance to this that I discuss at length in the draft guide. But with that being said, I don't think that it's helpful to compare a wide receiver's stat line to a tight end stat line.
Okay. So that was the TLDR. If you want more analysis, get the draft guide.
I mean, you caught me off guard. I'm going to have to if you catch me on a topic that I'm passionate about, I love it.
Honestly, I love it. It's
That's
the best type of content. You like just doing some soulless analysis is not what I'm here for. I'm here for you putting your, putting your heart out there. All right. This is a Gesicki tight end situation.
Yeah, you want to talk about soulless analysis? Let's talk about the Bengals tight ends when they have two of the best wide receivers in the league on their team.
I just think that I'm guessing this kind of renders both like useless.
Here's my stance. I'm going to probably be in on Gesicki at his new price, assuming that it falls a good bit, right?
Yeah.
Because he's more of a slot tight end than Noah Fant is. And Noah Fant, got cut, hasn't really lived up to expectation. Gesicki just got a contract. I think they have some use for him. I don't think this is just like a duplicative situation and player of going from Gesicki to Noah Fant. Gesicki is much more of a Fant is still more of a pass catching, can throw him in the slot kind of tight end than the standard tight end. But Gesicki is like a slot player, right? So I want that from a fantasy perspective because he also has that upside of multiple injury outs, right? Even if Jamar Chase gets hurt, there's a trickle down effect, right? Where T. Higgins lines up on the outside, Yossi Vosh might even line up on the outside. Sure, maybe they use Jermaine Burton or whomever, but that might get Mike Gesicki more just getting natural slot work. Whereas I don't think that's I don't think that's in the range of outcomes nearly as cleanly with Noah Fant. So there's a chance that Gesicki becomes a value.
Interesting. All right, Taj Mahal right here. If you've been watching any of the shows, if you've take a look, we have talked about. We didn't understand that Taj Brooks, just no one's drafting him. We talked about Zach Moss possibly being a player that to be cut. Well, guess what happened?
Yeah,
he was cut, and now Taj is what seems like a clear RB2 in that spot.
My thing was, we talked about this on the show. We had Taj Brooks as a late round dart throw in one of the first episodes that we did.
We had him in the news section.
Yeah. And the reasoning behind that was he seemed like the player that was safest to not get cut on this team. And we already knew what Zach Moss was, what Samaje Perine was. So why were we all that concerned about them versus Taj Brooks having more of that just natural upside of being a rookie, right? And a rookie who, in my model, didn't look amazing. He was kind of mid. But other analysts like Matt Waldman loves Taj Brooks, right? And it's a position where day three, I say this all the time, day three running backs, they're going to have some warts. And the guys who emerge, they're not always the guys who we think are going to emerge. There's not that much correlation. There's actually no correlation when you're looking at ADP, rookie draft ADP, with a day three pick and how well they actually perform. And so with Taj Brooks, I thought that he was always kind of the dart throw. Zach Moss was never someone that I was that concerned about because if you read the tea leaves and you read what they were saying out of Cincinnati, there were questions about Zach Moss, and they like Samaje Perine. They've used him in sort of that long down and distance pass catching kind of role, third down role in the past. So they have the stability there with Perine already. Why not get a guy like Brooks to balance things out, to give you a little bit more upside alongside obviously their stud in Chase Brown? So to me, Brooks was already a player to target. He's actually more difficult to target now because people are, at least from a best ball perspective, because people are I've seen him go in the 16th round. He's going a lot earlier than he was before. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm kind of pairing this a little bit as far as receivers, tight ends, and now running backs. Jets' new BA RB.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Braelon Allen hype?
Yeah, there's a lot of Braelon Allen hype.
Yeah, he's the 1B now. He's not just the second guy, but the 1B to Breece Hall's 1A.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say Braelon Allen is rising, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
But.
Okay. My overall stance on Braelon Allen is that this is one of those situations in fantasy football that I think you can really get in trouble as an analyst or someone who's digging into the data and stuff. Number one, we know that running back data is not very sticky. Volume data is, but I'm talking about efficiency stuff, yada, yada, yada. Braelon Allen's numbers last year were not very good, and they were worse than Breece Hall's. Okay. Now, a lot of people, I think that there's an anchoring bias that goes on with this Jets backfield because Braelon Allen started last year kind of hot, first couple weeks of the season, and people were like, I don't know if you remember this, but people were like literally screaming that they should be using Braelon Allen over Breece Hall, like like in the first 5 weeks of the season last year. And if you look at how the season ended, Breece Hall was better across the board in a lot of the metrics that the descriptive metrics that we look at, right? Now, you could look at that and say Braelon Allen's not very good, but we should also recognize that there's not many sticky metrics at running back, and running back comes down to a coaching decision, all that kind of stuff. And then you should also, on top of that, recognize that Braelon Allen was a 20-year-old prospect, a 20-year-old rookie. He's only 21. There's room for growth as a player with this kind of profile. Now, when you go, and this is something that I've talked about in the email newsletter this week, and something that I talk about on the mailbag that's going to drop tomorrow. I haven't edited it yet, but it'll be out. When we get these reports where it's a 1A, 1B situation, most beat reporters and most people in general are saying that from the perspective of how they're going to deploy their running backs in terms of rush attempts, in terms of the backfield share, right? But that's not really what we worry about and care about in fantasy football. Good example of this is Aaron Jones versus Jordan Mason, right? I'm not saying that Mason or Jones is a better or worse value than one another, but the reason that Aaron Jones gets drafted ahead of Jordan Mason is because Jordan Mason is not projected to get the receiving work out of that backfield. And this is what I talk about in the mailbag that you guys can listen to tomorrow. So I look at the Jets, it's pretty similar, where it's not as good of an offense. So these guys should be drafted a little bit later. And Breece Hall is a lot better than Aaron Jones. But Breece Hall, to me, is still going to be the primary pass catching back in that backfield, which to a beat reporter might be just as important as the early down work. But to us, we know that that's like 2 to 3 times more important based on how many points we get per target versus how many points we get per rush attempt. So in my opinion, Breece Hall can still be targeted. I did bump Breece. I have bumped Breece down a little bit, Breece Hall down a little bit. And there might be an update to his profile in the draft guide this week. Haven't really decided yet. And Braelon Allen is rising because I think of all that ambiguity of him only being 21 years old and the intrigue there and the hype. And running back is the one position where I think coach speak matters most, because they're the ones who are choosing which running back and which player is going to be on the field. Whereas wide receivers are always on the field. There's going to be 3 of them on the field. A lot of teams run 11 personnel. There's going to be wide receivers on the field a lot. They just have to get open in order to see the ball. The coach can just say, hey, I really want this guy to have the rock. I'm going to hand it to him. Right. And so that's why I don't think that we can just ignore this stuff with Braelon Allen. But I don't want to go overboard with it and think that he's going to like take over the backfield over Breece Hall.
This is a tweet from Inharditz. I don't know if you saw it earlier today. He's getting all sorts of hype. So Braelon Allen, running back Frankenstein, feet of Michael Jackson, vision of Nostradamus, strength of Zeus, athleticism, LeBron. I mean, that's the type of hype he's getting though right now.
Yeah. That's Harditz who did that?
Yeah, Harditz did that.
Good job, Harditz.
All right. Law firms to watch out for. You know what this is?
Yeah, it's probably Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
Yeah. And another one.
What?
You'll think of it, maybe. A 3-name guy.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis?
No. Playing tonight for the Chargers.
Oh, Lambert Smith.
Yeah, Keandre Lambert Smith. Yes.
You know what's crazy is that hang on, let me I'll put a caption in here and say I don't know. Fine darts.
Yeah.
The thing, if you guys go back and read the prospect guide, Keandre Lambert Smith actually had a decent profile for where he was drafted.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm really kind of intrigued by that. And I talked about him playing kind of a vertical role based on what he did in college. And I think
Mike Williams retires there.
Yeah. Like I think that there's a spot for Lambert Smith to do stuff. And Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, the steam is kind of crazy for a player that had as weak of a production profile as he did. Like if he hits, right? I don't think he's going to hit because we've never seen a player with this kind of profile hit. But if he does, it's going to be kind of an outlier situation. He's not a young prospect either. I think he's already 24 years old. So it's just kind of a really odd situation. And I almost feel like the only reason, not the only, but one of the main reasons that the hype surrounding him. And by the way, you see my portfolio. I have like 12%.
It surprised me how much you had him, but it's also a 20th round pick by you. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's a 20th
and
round
also correlates to Cowboys as far as if you don't have any Commanders.
Exactly. And I'm not drafting much Brian Robinson, so like it's an easier go-to. So but here's the thing, like I genuinely like my like deep down, and this is a show where I'm a little bit more unfiltered.
Yeah,
I think that beat writers are getting so excited about JCM because of the context. They're seeing Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, and nothing against those guys, but they're not, Austin Eckler's past the he's on the wrong side of the age curve. Brian Robinson's never been a spectacular player. I will not bring up anything else about Brian Robinson.
Yeah, please.
Because we know that chat will get me in trouble. But like, it could just be that too. Like that could be part of what's going on here. I think JCM is going to get some run this year. I think he's going to make the team. I think those are the 3 running backs that they're going to use on game days. Yeah. And the thing is, we don't have much in terms of athleticism on JCM because he didn't get invited to the combine. So if there is that, and it looks like he's got, like good speed and stuff. And if that's like the trait, if that's the thing, like what if he would have run like a 4.3 5.40, right? I can get behind that. Yeah. Sometimes it's all you need. It's just a really athletic dude that is in the right system for that period of time. But I'd be shocked if like long-term he was like a stud, but I do think that he's someone that should be rostered everywhere at this point. Like last round of your draft, go for it.
Yeah. In best ball for sure. Let's look at this is possibly one of my favorite moments thus far in the lore of the.
Look at the timestamp.
It's 2 months ago, redacted fantasy takes in our Discord said, if Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt becomes fantasy relevant, I will steal the Declaration of Independence. So with every post about JCM in our news and rumors chats, someone posts like a Nicolas Cage gif or something. It just is it's too good. It's way too good. This is why I love the chat. All right. Passing game marching, the colors, you know what this is in reference to?
Passing game marching.
Yes. The colors, what are the colors?
The colors kind of look 49ers-esque.
Kind of, but not really.
I don't know. What is it?
It's there's a passing game out there that we're not really sure about in New Orleans.
Oh, the white. I never think of the Saints with white. That was the problem.
Okay. Yeah. The Saints go marching. I'm not sure because
it's good. It's good. You did good. I was just being stupid.
Yeah. We don't know the QB situation there.
We don't.
Also, we got a bunch of Rashid Shaheed hype coming out there.
Tons. Yeah.
I mean, it is like,
and he's good. Look, I mean,
you're right.
He's the peripheral. He is our peripheral king, Rashid Shaheed. He is so good on a per route run basis. But so is Chris Olave.
Yes. Yeah, I'm enjoying the Olave stuff. We also have Kendre Miller stuff catching passes out of the backfield. And then you got like Juwan Johnson, who I honestly, if you look at Juwan Johnson, like he's making $10 million this year.
Yeah, he's banged up right now, though.
But he was back at practice. They said it was a nothing burger.
Oh, sorry. I was out at brunch with Rich.
That's right. You were. So that's why I'm giving you the news. So with all that, like, I think he is a perfectly with one of the tight ends that retired, another one being Taysom Hill. Like, there's not a lot of people there. So just decipher this passing game for us, if you will, because they're going to have to pass this year.
Yeah, and I like Kellen Moore being there. He picks up the pace. There's usually a lot more volume in his offenses because he does pick up the pace. Look, my fear is the quarterback situation is going to just be terrible.
Yeah, like you're going to flip flop because like they have like people were saying that like Tyler Shuck today looked terrible.
Yeah.
And that Rattler was QB1.
The Tyler Shuck stuff, and I know Davis mentioned Shuck as like a really high drafted player. I didn't really talk to him about it in much detail on becoming a best ball bro, but to me, like I'd rather be going the Jackson Dart path because I feel better about the prospect as opposed to Shuck. But Shuck might have a little bit more like the mobility and rushing upside, which intrigues people. I don't know. But regardless, I think Spencer Rattler is going to start. And I think Olave and Shaheed are 2 very, very good wide receivers. I think Shaheed at this point, I mean, might be the better value just given where he goes, even though my rankings might not totally reflect that as much as it should.
Yeah.
I've been drafting him a lot more over the last week. That's for sure. I've been trying to get a little bit more exposure. Olave though has just always been like, Garrett Wilson and honestly an even worse situation. And I know that sounds wild, but like Garrett Wilson's fortunately gotten by to be somewhat fantasy relevant based on volume and not having having a quarterback be able to just get him the ball. Chris Olave obviously has had the concussion issues. If you look though at their peripherals back to back, the only difference is that Garrett Wilson has been able to see like a 2% more target share per game rate or so versus Olave to start their career. So like he's almost like an arbitrage off of Garrett Wilson to a degree. So like I like Chris Olave a lot as a player. It's just really hard for me at the end of the day to be 15%, like doubly exposed to an offense that could be pretty disastrous. Like that's my genuine fear overall. But I trust Kellen Moore enough that I'm willing to be overweight on some of these players.
Yeah, for sure. If Olave is if he's not great this year, that's not great for me. We've talked about that at length. This next one would also not be great for me if they're not great. So mid, no cap. You know what this is about?
I don't actually know.
Okay. Titans Cam Ward,
of course,
said
I know what it is. Yeah.
He described basically the Titans offense right now as mid, which JJ, you probably, you're not in the know. I'm way more hip than you are. But that means just not great. Basically, that's what mid means. Yeah. Okay. And no cap means like not going to lie, basically.
Yeah. You know what my least favorite Zoomer thing has been is bet when they say bet.
Because mine is gas. Like when my daughter said to me, like, that is so gas. And I'm like, excuse me?
My favorite is cheeks.
Yeah, which means bad.
Yeah, cheeks is good.
We might have another section on just.
I mean, any Zoomer listening to this right now, they're like, "Why am I watching this live stream?"
And then there's some other dads right here just making notes. Like, okay, all right, got it.
Yeah. Look, if you're Cam Ward and you're throwing the corpse of Tyler Lockett and Alec Iamaner and Chimere DK and what other wide receiver didn't they? Oh, Van Jefferson. I knew there was another one that. Yeah, you probably feel like your offense is pretty mid. They do not have good personnel. Period. Like, and look, would you be shocked? Would you be shocked if they have a coaching turnover after the season?
No, I think it's almost likely.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to be great. I think Cam is going to show flashes. My official prediction right now is this. Cam shows absolute flashes of brilliance. The team loses, they re-roll with a new coach and one that like fits Cam's skill set because this Callahan situation, he just did not, there's a lot of stuff that he did last year. I was like, I'm not in on this.
Yeah, I'm a believer too that when you get the quarterback, you're better off when you have like a questionable coach. Like you don't know if they're good or not. And look, I'm not, having conversations with these guys, but like this to me is why Chicago last year should have made their coaching change instead of this year, right? And I think that Tennessee should have done the same thing, even though it was 1 year. Just get a fresh slate. You're working with.
I don't think Amy, because of how Vrabel was successful, right? And he was a beloved figure here in town. Her firing him, which is a shocker, because they had talked about trading Vrabel to the Patriots. Like firing Vrabel was the biggest shocker last year of firings. Yeah. So admitting you're wrong for an owner and someone, a trust fund kid is going to be tough.
Yeah.
I think after 2 years of losing, it's a lot easier to justify.
Yeah. I mean, you have FF Doom in here saying that Callahan got dealt a bad hand with Levis. Of course.
Yeah. He just made a bunch of dumb, third down decisions, going for it decisions. Like I thought he was going to be way more pass heavy, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff he did last year that bothered me. Anyways, we'll see. I hope he gets it back on track.
Yeah. Let's go to today's data. Today's data. There's the transition.
That was cringe. All right.
I got to think about what I'm going to do for we should call it like the main event, like for the right.
You're going like sultry.
Yeah.
The main event. I would think like the main event.
No,
Like
I want it to be like a ring woman or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
The main event. Like I'm thinking like a late 90s like arcade game, right? All right, let's talk about this data. I sent a newsletter blast out yesterday about Tank Bigsby, where I think that he should be rising rankings, but we should, again, go back to what I just ranted about how beat reporters talk about these backfields. And with Bigsby, I dug into his yards per route run numbers. First off, in college, they were pretty much below average throughout his 3 years at Auburn. His raw volume looked good, which is what matters more in the prospect model and in the ZAP model. He actually looked pretty good in the ZAP model. Tank Bigsby did. He looked better than Bashal Tutin, but his receiving numbers were questionable. And you look at what he's done the first 2 seasons in the league, his year 1 plus year 2 yards per route run is 0.36. The league average is basically more than double that. So twice as good. These are all the running backs since 2011 who have had in their first 2 seasons in the league have had a less than 0.5 yards per route run rate. And you can see on the right, their max target share, which represents their highest target share season per game when they played a minimum 8. I think it's a minimum 8 games. I might not have even done that for this. And none of them had significant target shares at the NFL level. If you move this up to 0.6 as the yards per route run threshold, you get a couple more guys that are decent, like J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram's in there, because obviously he got off to a slower start in his career, but they're still pretty low hit rates for them being like true pass catchers. So my point being is I still think that Bigsby is working himself into like an early down role for sure, but I still question the true, non-best ball upside, the managed league upside that you're getting with Bigsby. Whereas I because the pass catching is not going to be there, I think that he's more so like his out for being, and we get one of these almost every year, so maybe he's the guy, but his out is more so like, Raheem Mostert a couple of years ago, Jamal Williams before touchdowns. That, LeGarrette Blount in like the 2018 timeframe, like just the dude who scores 15 touchdowns. And that's just not something I want to bet on in a managed season long league. Best ball is a little bit different because he should get some production and that's valuable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got some rounds 1 through 5 targets to talk about. Are you ready, JJ?
Yeah. Someone's saying, who's Terrence West? That is, I believe he went to Towson. Terrence West did.
Wow.
He played for Cleveland, played for Baltimore a little bit. Go check him out. He's actually kind of a fun player.
Stephen Ridley, man. That name brings back some
Stephen Ridley memories. Was like the LeGarrette Blount-ish kind of player before Blount, and then he played for Pittsburgh for a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of these guys just did not have much of a pass catching career.
All right, before we go on to the rounds 1 through 5 targets, just a reminder, if you would, please like, subscribe, comment on this. I think we only have 31 likes, and there's 163 people. So it doesn't cost you anything else just to like this.
Yeah.
Let's move on. If we would, JJ, we've got targets, rounds 1 through 5. You want to kind of set the scene for what this kind of means for people that are just not tuning in? Yeah.
Do you like the setup that I have?
I do. I do.
Week? It's fun.
Yeah.
So at the top, you can see ADP. I pulled that from Fantasy Pros yesterday or 2 days ago to see sort of what each round is saying right now by ADP. Obviously, it's going to change. Like Nico might be in the first round, whatever. This is what it's saying by rounds. These are the first 5 rounds just in a 12-team league. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my favorite pick from each of these rounds. And then next week, we'll do rounds 6 through 10. So we'll do the first 10 rounds, my favorite picks in each round based on this ADP. Okay. So it's based on value, essentially. Of course, I like Jamar Chase more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, but maybe I like Amon-Ra St. Brown more as a pick, but I don't. I like Christian McCaffrey more as a pick. In home, this is more home league reflective. It's not really best ball reflective. But Christian McCaffrey right now is RB6 behind Ashton Genty, behind Derrick Henry, behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that he deserves to be close to like Puka. I think he's basically my update, I have him ahead of Puka just because of the Stafford stuff, just kind of being a tiebreaker. But CMC, to me, there has not been a negative report yet out of camp about his health. And if there's not going to be any negative reports about his health, then I'm going to assume that he's feeling pretty good and he's healthy. And if he's healthy, he's very good in fantasy football. He's averaging 22.5 PPR points per game in games where he's had 10 or more attempts since 2020. That's absurd. 22.5 points per game, guys, PPR points per game, is better than Saquon Barkley last year. He's been averaging that in games where he runs the ball 10 or more times since 2020. It's 4-5 years, right? And so obviously the big question mark here is he healthy? And right now he seems healthy. So I don't know why we should be anchored to the idea that he's like a 1-2 turn guy in a home league. Like to me, he is someone that I'm gonna probably have in a lot of these more traditional season long leagues.
All right, let's move down. With the window size, this is going to be possibly a little tricky, but
yeah,
we can do it. I tried messing with it. Let's see.
Could zoom out right on the window.
Yeah, we could.
Round 2.
There we go. Round 2, we've got Devon Achane.
Round 2, Devon Achane. Without Tua last year, he averaged 8.6 PPR points per game. With Tua last year, 22.6 PPR points per game. And that was in and off, or that's again better than what Saquon Barkley was at, as I just said with CMC. There's no Jonnu Smith in this offense anymore, and I think that's a big deal. According to fantasy points data, Achane and Smith were top 15 last year in design targets. I think Ryan Heath had tweeted that whenever that all went down, so I want to credit him for that. To me, he should not be a clear round 2 pick, and that's what we're seeing here, especially in a running back heavy kind of like way of drafting and format for this ADP. He's RB7. I think he's right after CMC, Devon Achane, because I think the target share is going to be pretty sticky given the no Jonnu Smith. We saw the ceiling with Tua last year when he was healthy and active. I mean, I think he's a smash where he goes.
This is a little bit maybe arbitrary, but also sometimes you have with your home league, when you have news that happens after these magazines get published, I do think there is a little bit of an effect there.
Maybe, yeah.
Because people aren't, with best ball, you're immediately seeing like immediate market reaction.
Yeah.
But I don't see that with redraft leagues.
I also don't think though that the average fantasy player understands the connection between Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane.
Right. For sure.
That's key too. Like like him leaving, they're like, okay, that's not. It could be a bit like it definitely helps his ceiling. Devon Achane's.
BMAC says magazines. What's a magazine? Well,
we won't be publishing magazines. Don't worry.
We will not. We do publish the late round draft guide, which you get an email update every Friday.
Every Friday.
That's crazy. I do want to say my actual modeling live stream show would kill with YouTube producing with these Google Sheet presentation skills. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the love. All right, let's get to round 3. No surprise here. George Kittle.
Yeah, look, I think round 3 of all of these rounds was the hardest for me to find like the best value. Because Breece Hall, we're kind of pushing down a little bit more because of the Braelon Allen stuff. James Cook, we still don't know what's going on with that situation totally. I could have maybe gone T. Higgins, but I'm not like super high on Higgins. And Garrett Wilson, I'm not very high on.
Yeah,
maybe could have gone Jalen Hurts.
You couldn't have gone Jalen Hurts because of the brand. You can't have a quarterback.
But Jalen Hurts to me is a general target this year.
I know.
But yeah, so we're gonna go George Kittle. Kittle, I don't think has lost it. He had 2.62 yards per route run last year. He was targeted on 22% of his routes. I do think some regression is going to come. He outperformed his points per game expectation according to PFF by almost 4 points per game last year, which is a little bit scary. But he also only had a 20.8% target share per game rate last season, which when you look at what's going on there, no Deebo Samuel, a lot of injuries and hold-ins and holdouts, whatever, with those wide receivers in San Francisco. So I think where George Kittle can, improve and sort of combat the regression, because remember last year he was the tight end 1 in fantasy football on a points per game basis, where he can combat all of that would be with a higher target share, a couple percentage points. And then on top of that, San Francisco, when I look at my projected touchdowns year over year, they see, and I've said this for the last 2 months now, I know, but they see the biggest improvement in touchdowns per game from one season to the next. So I think that we could see a better offensive environment for them, more passing too, because the defense is a little bit suspect, and that will definitely help George Kittle.
Am I right in saying that round 3 among these 5 rounds would be the round that you could reach in because of all these question marks now at 25 through 36?
Yeah, this is also where, in my opinion, and I think next year, maybe you guys would like this and you could let me know and give me feedback, but I've kind of contemplated doing like a quick like chapter in the draft guide on auction strategy for that particular league or for that particular year, right? So less about, let's say, like, this is what we traditionally see, and more about like, here's what we're seeing in drafts right now. And I might do a more comprehensive look in snake drafts too, as versus what I do in the guide. I think it would be more comprehensive and stuff. But regardless, in an auction draft, I think that because, like, generally speaking, prices are going to be fairly linear in auctions. And so if you don't have to take a 3rd round pick, like one of these guys, don't take one of these guys. Like, you don't need to take Breece Hall or maybe Breece is wrong, a bad example. Like, you don't need to take Kyron Williams at $45 or $40 because he's the RB12 when you can get Kenneth Walker $10 cheaper, a little bit later. Cause I think that this tier is kind of flat, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to get the guys who are just generally going to be cheaper.
Yeah. And this year it just feels like it's a little bit deeper. We actually talked about this in the redraft chat. He said, in the Discord yesterday, for late round members, because someone mentioned it as far as like strategy. And that's what I was saying, is that this year, I think with how deep it is, it's really easy to find wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
In that 4th, 5 round range. And also I'm looking at round 4 and seeing some guys that have pretty decent upside compared to round 3. Let's get there, shall we?
Let's do it. My round 4 is Kenneth Walker. I'm going pretty running back heavy in this.
We had a comment from Dan, said, given RB tight end as round 1 through 3 favorites, JJ might also be known as late round wide receiver.
It's clearly just the exercise here, guys, that I'm going with. I could have made an argument for some of the wide receivers, but with Kenneth Walker, we actually had some coach speak yesterday about his pass catching from Clint Kubiak. That is important, I think, because last year with Ryan Grubb, he had a 14.4% target share per game rate, by far, almost double. I think it was double the highest of his career. I said that in a very Yinzer way. Double.
Nothing will beat Yahoo.
I'm not going down that path. He was double his 20. I'm not going to do it. He was double his 2024 target share per game rate. The 2 questions that I have is, can he stay healthy, and is the receiving work going to be there? The health might be a problem. I can't diagnose that nearly as well as I can look at what's going on the production front. I think Clint Kubiak is a perfect offensive coordinator for Kenneth Walker. You get the zone scheme, get him on the outside, allow him to generate those massive plays that we know Kenneth Walker can generate. And then from a pass catching standpoint, not only is Kubiak just talking up, using his running backs in the passing game, but when you look at what they have going on, JSN, good, very good player. Cooper Kupp, we have no idea if he still has it. Elijah Arroyo, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Like, when we're projecting target share, there was someone I think in Discord or maybe I don't remember where it was. Maybe it was in one of the live streams, but they were like, I saw a study once about how when vacated targets happen, the running back seems to be the one who benefits most from that. I don't know who did the study, and I'm not saying that the study, I haven't read it. So I'm just, my reaction to that is, when targets are vacated or target share is vacated it can go to other places in the lineup. And so naturally the running back would see a boost, right? And maybe the running back sees a extraordinarily high boost, but I would imagine that maybe they're not backfilling that position that left quite as strongly as the player who left. And so when you have weak pass catchers, that 100% target share pie is still going to be divvied up in a 100% way, right? And so running backs can see more work, similar to Breece Hall in New York. We're going to say, oh, there's not a lot of passing volume in that offense, and maybe Justin Fields won't check down or whatever. Dude, their number 2 pass catcher might be Breece Hall this year because there's no one else there. It's Josh Reynolds and Mason Taylor,
Yeah.
And so I feel similarly about Seattle in targeting their running backs as well. So I think Kenneth Walker's in a very, very good spot this year if he can stay healthy.
Yeah. You've been higher on him than the market for the whole season.
All off season. Yeah.
Yeah. All off season. And he obviously the upside is there. I'm just trying to leave every draft I have with either him or Charbonnet, knowing that something could happen. If something does happen to Walker's health, I want Charbonnet. I want one of these two guys in this offense. Damian Martinez doesn't scare me. Kenny McIntosh just tore his ACL. He's done. So
yeah. Did you see? All right. Breece said that he knows he's not their guy. So Breece scares me. Guys, that was a headline that came out. Breece was referring to the fact that this is not the regime that drafted him. So he's going to prove to them that he is their RB1. It's not you.
Look at you given the context. I love it.
He's not saying that he knows that he knows he's going to be in a committee and that's not what that means. Yeah. What it means is that he is going to prove that he is an elite running back for them. If anything, it was a good headline for Breece Hall.
This is like me telling my family, I guess that grilled, meal that I just prepared wasn't that great. And they're like, no, Dad, it was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome. Part of it just fishing for compliments, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to round 5. Someone nailed it in the chat. Maybe it was Beefcake. But there is a wide receiver on this list. Devonta Smith.
One of the weirdest ADPs, I think, in fantasy football right now. Yeah. Where I think the market is just making way too many assumptions about the Eagles being really run heavy again. Where, sure, they're going to be probably run heavy, but they have the second toughest or one of the toughest schedules, bottom 5 schedule in football when looking at win totals. They also ran pretty clean last year in terms of Saquon not getting hurt and stuff like that. So if that happens, they're obviously going to throw the ball more. So if negative game scripts happen, they're going to throw more. They had the second lowest pass rate of any team since 2011 last year. That almost always regresses back to a mean, and that mean being a more pass-heavy offense, right? Devonta Smith is going to benefit from that. His target share has not fallen below 22% a single season in his career. He's had 14.2 or more PPR points per game in each of his last 3, which is after his rookie season, right? And then the big thing here too is that if we're assuming that he can get to 14 PPR points per game or around that mark, okay, because that's what we've seen him do. There's also the contingent upside of A.J. Brown going down or Dallas Goedert going down, because even last year when Goddard was out, we saw a spike in target share for Devonta Smith. When one of him, Dallas Goedert or A.J. Brown were out last year, Devonta Smith had a 31% target share. That's crazy. That's legit, like almost Malik Neighbors last year. Malik Neighbors had one of the highest target shares that we've seen in the last decade. So I think that Devonta Smith is being drafted at projection, if not even he's being drafted after projection, right? So where he's projected to score, how many points he's going to score is essentially where his ADP is. But there's this contingent upside with him that just seems like has been forgotten about. There is this back thing that he's been dealing with.
Yeah, back tight. And I mean, that would be the things that the whole concept of drafting, you're right, drafting to win your league.
Yeah.
In this round 5, Devonta Smith, if he's there, absolutely. Because if he does stay healthy, then you've got a really good chance at someone, at least a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
That has wide receiver 1 upside, but him being 170 pounds and having back, issues. That's what scares people. That's probably why he might even continue to fall a little bit.
Maybe, but I still think that he's a really, really good pick right now.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have ignored your brand by not picking Jalen Waddle?
I'll say this: my ranking.
Did you see what Omar Kelly said about?
Yeah, I mean, again, Omar Kelly is worse
lovable.
than the Mark Cabali of Miami. So yeah. I'm not gonna take.
We're just gonna say he's lovable, right?
Yeah, except at least Cabali is lovable.
Yeah.
But I'll say about Waddle, I've been ahead of market, especially since the Jonnu move.
Yeah,
and he's been like the fringe should I write him up player as a target. And we'll see. Maybe tonight I say to myself, I want to write up Jalen Waddle. We'll see.
Again, this fifth round is just so deep to me. When you look at these guys,
great. Yes,
DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, we just talked about Devonta Smith. We've talked on the show about RJ Harvey, Jameson Williams, even like Pacheco.
And here's the thing: this doesn't even have George Pickens.
Yeah, true.
Calvin
Ridley,
who I like. Like it's just
or Chris Olave,
or one of the San Francisco guys.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm saying. I think that it's weird the way that things really shape up this year, but it does feel like round 4, like round 3 and 4, especially if you can get like the right running back, is kind of like a decent running back spot.
Yeah.
In a lot of drafts, even 2, if you can get one of the elite guys.
Amari and Hampton. But
I like to try to get that anchor at wide receiver, like the elite guy. And then you can it allows the flexibility of actually getting the elite tight end, the elite quarterback, maybe a running back in there. Like you don't need to pound wide receiver the way that we've always kind of like done that whenever it's more obvious to do that. Yeah. Because the way the market's shaping up, like I just like the round 5 into round 6 based on home league day. I mean, like DraftKings is more just late round 4 into round 5, but the round 6 guys from a season long home league perspective, they look really, really good.
Don't have to pound that, but you do have to pound the like button and the subscribe button and what are any other buttons, JJ? That was good stuff. We had a lot to talk about today, but this is fun. This is fun. Me, just kind of getting the passion out of you and talking about news. It's really answering a lot of questions that I have and trying to validate like some of my picks. Yeah. I mean,
so, I'm not the end all Kitchen at the end.
Yeah, I know you're not. You're my end all though. All right. Love you, JJ. JJ and I actually will be on a road trip next week.
Yeah, we should probably shout out. I think are we going to do this show a day early next week?
I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wednesday next week. I don't think I can do it at 1, so we'll figure out a time, but we'll let you guys know.
We'll whatever time works for JJ we'll do, and everyone else will just adjust accordingly. We also have the live streams every day. Pretty much every day. The DraftKings live streams, those are fun. Shout out Beefcake. He won a draft guide. Beefcake, I did email you that promo code. So we always appreciate the likes, the comments, the interactions that we have. We had some special news for our Discord members, so we'll be hearing more on that later. More stuff. But football starts tonight. So if you want, if you want to overreact to stuff, just join us in the Discord because that's what it's there for. People tell me not to overreact. That just takes the fun out of it. Let me overreact. Let me see a Jameson Williams highlight and then immediately go fire up a draft so I can get to Jameson Williams.
It's fun.
That's what's fun.
Yeah, I agree. All
right. Shout out to DraftKings for helping us sponsor. JJ, you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I still believe that Matthew Golden should change his number.
Boy. Oh, boy. Okay. And with that, shout out to everyone that was hanging with us. We'll see you next week. On Wednesday, a time TBD. Enjoy football tonight. We're almost there, folks. We'll see you later. This has been the Late Round Fantasy Football Show, sponsored by DraftKings. DraftKings.